let's talk anticipated reads for 2023. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the most original video that I could put out at the beginning of any given year, and that is my reading plans for the year ahead of 2023. Now, I have quite the ambitious TBR going into this year. I've got a lot of buddy reads happening. Basically, 2023 is the year where I'm looking to really crank out some buddy reads here on the channel and also joining some on other people's channels, and then really just getting through my Kindle TBR. I'm in a different sort of interim position where my wife and I are moving interstate. The house is being built, and a lot of our stuff isn't actually accessible to us and won't be for a good, let's say, 7 to 8 months, depending on building plans, and then actually moving over there. It's all going to be a little bit up in the air. So I've gotten rid of a lot of the books that were behind me, and the background is a little bit plain Jane at the moment, but that's okay. We work with what we have, and I actually just have mostly a shelf full of indie books, with the exception of a couple of books I've purchased recently, because that book buying ban never actually works. So jumping into it, I'm going to go through my reading plans for 2023. There are 4 categories here. I've got series continuations that I would like to basically tidy up these series this year if I can. Some are longer, some are shorter, but get a big chunk of those series done. Now, I might have started at book 1, or I may be well into a series at this point. So series continuations is the first category. The second category is series that I would like to begin. Now, I do have other books in series in another category, but this category is series that I would like to begin and continue throughout 2023. So these are books or series that I would like to read at least 2 books from, and more if I can fit them in. The next category is going to be the buddy reads that are set in stone for my channel, and also the one that I'll be joining on somebody else's channel, and there may be another one that I jump on board with later in the year. I'm unsure at this stage, just because of there's a lot of books on this list, and I want to pull back on reading, but that is for a video coming out a little bit later. And the last category that I do have here is miscellaneous books. So these are books which may be in a series, but I am personally committing to reading one of them, so I might only look at reading the first book in that series and then have them come onto the 2024 list, or I might fall head over heels like I did with The World of Lunaria, when I anticipated I would read one and then ended up just loving the series, so I continued on. And I also have a couple of standalones in here, some that I've owned for a little while, some that I got excited about on the hype train and then just never read, and I do want to get them under my belt. So jumping into category 1, these are the series continuations that I will be actively picking up in 2023. The first series I'll be continuing, to no one's surprise, is The World of Lunaria by L.L. McRae. I read books 1 through 3, so I've read Maroda, Palom, and Amara, and I'll be continuing on with Isa or Isa, depending on how you pronounce it, in the new year. And I'm hoping to get to this one in Q1 because I love it, and I'm anticipating that book 5 may come out before the end of 2023, and I'd like to jump on that pretty much straight away. The next one that I'll be picking up is the Star Children's Saga. This is by Palmer Pickering, who's been a wonderful friend to the channel here at A Fictional Escapist, and I have really enjoyed Palmer's heavily descripted writing, and the way that she writes, there's something about it that captures me. So I read Moon Deeds a little while ago, I quite enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to jumping into book 2, Light Fighters, and I'm not sure if book 3 is on the cards for 2023. I haven't talked to Palmer about that yet, but if it is, then I'll be looking at closing off that series, or whatever is available at the given time. The next series I would like to continue on with is The Legends of Drizzt. This is by R.A. Salvatore. I read the second one this year, which was Exile, I believe. I've got Sojourn to complete that first Dark Elf trilogy, or what they suggest the reading order is of that Dark Elf trilogy, and then I'm also looking to read the next trilogy in the series. I think that's Icewind Dale. Don't quote me on that. Roger, you can tell me in the comments down below. But I am looking to read at least those 4 within 2023 so that I can then continue on. I might look at branching out a little bit in the Forgotten Realms. I think that the War of the Spider Queen, or whatever that series is called, does sound like it's going to be up my alley. So once I finish those 4 books, I might look into branching out into other Forgotten Realms spaces. The next series I would like to continue on with is the Wayfarers series. This is by Becky Chambers. I absolutely adored the Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I read this with my friend Ryan over on Bookstagram. I'll link their Bookstagram down below, so you can check them on out. And I loved it. Nothing happened. There is very little plot, which is so different to me because I am a plot and world-building driven reader, and this was very much a character-focused space opera, I would say. There is like an underlying plot, but it's very loosey-goosey, and it's mainly about the characters. But they had some excellent thematics and philosophies that were discussed within the series, and there's at least 3 more on my radar within that series. I don't know if Becky Chambers has written more than that, but I also know there are 2 novellas that Becky Chambers has. So I am looking at completing that series, or whatever is available to me in 2023. Moving on from there, I've just realized that a lot of these are sci-fi because I started a lot of sci-fi series and I want to finish them before they leave the old brain, because that's what happens when I read sci-fi. I thought that the Primatary Book 1, or Primatere, however you pronounce it, Book 1, Iron Truth, was the winner of the SPSFC of 2021 to 2022. I thought it was brilliant. It was a very large book, a very heavy book, and I did actually need a break after reading the first one, but it was very easy to see why it won, and I would like to continue on with that series. There are another 3 books in it, and I think I have the next one. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it on the screen on my Kindle, and I'm looking at continuing on with that. Now that I know that I will likely need a decent break between the books, I can sort of space them out over the year. And the last one, I have another tentative one, but the last one set in stone that I want to continue on with is the Song of Kamaria. This is by T.A. Bruno, and it starts with In the Orbit of Sirens. This was a space opera which really did take me by surprise in 2022. It packed a punch. It was short, it was punchy. It was about 420 pages, but it felt short, punchy, fast-paced. Character work was excellent. Plot was excellent. Had me on the edge of my seat. The last 20% pretty sure gave me an anxiety attack, and I'm really looking forward to see where that series goes. And being a trilogy and all sort of within that 400 to 500 page range, I'm fairly confident I can fit that in the old schedule. Now there is one tentative here, and that is the Red Rising saga by Pierce Brown. I listened to the first book. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I did enjoy the narration quite a bit, and they are all available on my Libby app to continue on with. So if I'm looking for something to continue on with as an audio series, that narrator was excellent, very easy to listen to. I have heard that if you don't really vibe with the first book, and don't get me wrong, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was okay. I really liked the first part of the book, and then it just sort of got a bit long in the tooth for me. It just took a long time to do what it wanted to do, in my opinion. So I was like, I was bored by the end of it. But I am not opposed to continuing on with that series if it does get better. That's on the maybe pile. Moving into series that I would like to begin and sort of continue on with in 2023, as in I would like to read at least 2 books from each of these series, and in some cases we have duologies, so that works out quite well. The first one of these is Ironclasts by Mike Schell. I have had the Ironclast trilogy on my Kindle and my Audible forever, since the last book came out. This is it's a lit RPG or D&D inspired story. I've heard some mixed things about the first book, Aching God, but it has been on my radar for a really long time. So, and having the option of, either ebook or audio does help, because sometimes I'll, have a bit of audio time in the month where I go, don't know what I can fit in here, and then something like this will slip in nicely. So that is on my radar. I do want to get that one under my belt just because it's been on my Kindle for the longest. So it's time to start going down the Kindle TBR. The next one on my list is the Onyx-Born Chronicles. This is by D.W. Ross. This starts with Cold from the North, The Darkest Dust, and quite recently, the third book came out, The Fury of the Fate. I would like to finish this series. I would like to start and finish this series in 2023, if at all possible. I have interacted with the author, and they're a cool person, so I do want to read these ones. I like the covers. They give me sort of those Norse battle-y vibes, and I'm looking forward to jumping in. Moving on from there, I would like to read the Fallen Light series by H.C. Newell. I believe she's trying to get book 3 out in 2023, and this one starts with The Curse of the Fallen. That's going to be glary because they're shiny covers, and then goes on to the Forbidden Realms. I've had some interactions with the author. She is a delightful human being. There is a lot of artwork that has been inspired, by the stories here that she shared with me, and it makes me so excited to get into this series. These are definitely on the cards. Curse of the Fallen is happening in January, with a follow-up for the Forbidden Realms in February, and then I'm hoping to have her on the channel as an author interview. So that is fairly exciting for me here, to start breaking into that sphere of booktube, but that is definitely on my radar. And then when book 3 comes out, I hope to get to it pretty much on release. The next series that I want to get to, and I've just taken from the bookshelves, so just that can be a placeholder, is the Elemental Chronicles. This is by Ross Kingston, a fellow Aussie who I have bought a lot of books from, but I've not read anything yet. So this one starts with Awakening. It moves on to Reaper. It then has book 3, Illumination. Look at the graphics on these. Absolutely stunning. And then it goes on to my personal favorite cover, Purgatory. The art is amazing, and I really enjoy the artwork on those covers. Is that going to annoy anyone? Because it annoys me. Alright. So that is definitely on my radar for this year as well. I hope to start and finish the Elemental Chronicles in 2023. Next up on this list is a Forging of Age duology. This is by Tatiana Obey, and includes Bones to the Wind and Dragon Your Bones. I saw Tatiana on Dominish Books', just like an indie author showcase every month where indie authors come on and they promote their books. I just was enamored with Tatiana Obey's energy, and these covers are gorgeous. I just want to jump into this story. I really do. And it's only a duology, so we can knock that one out of the park quite easily within 2023. So I'm really excited to get to these. And the last one that I want to pick up is a series that I'm going to be reading with my friend Esme. I could have put this in the buddy reads as well. And we are going to be reading The Wounded Kingdom by R.J. Barker. This is Age of Assassins, Blood of Assassins, and King of Assassins. So I adored Bone Ships. It's probably my favorite series that I've read to date, and I want to read R.J. Barker's first series. I have heard this one starts a little bit slower, but he sticks the landing again, so I'm looking forward to this one, and reading it with a friend is always kind of nice. The next category that we have here are the buddy reads. So some of these are on my channel, and then one is on somebody else's channel, and one is a tentative if I can fit it in. Series that I want to read for a long time, and I just never have. So the ones happening on my channel. In January, we'll be starting The Cycle of Fire by Jenny Wirtz, and that will run January, February, March. In February, we'll be starting the original Dragonlance Chronicle trilogy, starting with Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and that will be running February, March, and April. And then I'll be doing the Cicero trilogy. This is a historical fiction, which is a little bit different from some of the other stuff on my channel, and this follows Cicero throughout Rome, and it's like a murder mystery historical fiction situation, and that may run April, May, June, or I might take a break from buddy reads, finish off Cycle of Fire and Dragonlance, and then come back through to Cicero. The big one that I'll be joining, and I do not know how long I will be continuing on with this buddy read, just time permitting. I want to make sure that I'm doing my darndest to read about 50% of indie books next year. So, and getting those reviews and stuff out, but I do want to start the Wheel of Time. I have not read it. I don't know how I'm going to go with it. I don't know if it's a series that's going to be up my alley. At the time of filming, I've listened to the audiobook read by Rosamund Pike. I'm on chapter 8, I think. and I've enjoyed it so far. So we will see how it goes. I don't know if it's going to be a series for me, but so far, so good. This is being run by Kay over at the Literary Apothecary. I'll put the channel and the announcement video down below. There's also a bunch of other booktubers that are coming in on that, including Leslie from the Nerdy Narrative, who will be rereading the series, and a lot of people will be reading it for the first time. I did really want to jump on Joanna's A Song of Ice and Fire readathon. Unfortunately, I think that's one is going to have to take a back seat. I know that A Song of Ice and Fire is a series that does have a read-along every couple of years, so I might just wait for the next round because I've got so many books that I want to get to, and something's going to have to give. The one that I wouldn't mind jumping on if it does happen in the second half of the year would be The Faithful and the Fallen. Theo has been talking about maybe doing a readathon for it, and that was by John Gwynne, starting off with Malice. I've not read it. I think it is a series I would like to read with somebody else when I eventually get to it. My father-in-law has loved John Gwynne, everything that I've given to him. Basically, he's my tester. I'll buy the books, I'll give them to him, he'll read them, and then he'll do me the solid of like breaking the spines and stuff, so I don't have to do it. Because I like reading books with broken spines, but I feel guilty when I break them. So there's that. So if that happens, maybe that's on my radar. The last category I have are some miscellaneous books. So like I said, these are some standalones and also some starts to series that I'm committing to reading, but not necessarily continuing on with those series within 2023. The first one is This Way Lies Camelot by Janny Wurtz. I read To Ride Hell's Chasm last year, adored it. Absolutely adored it. I loved how dense and intricate the prose was. It gave you the opportunity to really read between the lines and invited you to read slower and take it all in. So this is the next standalone that I'll be picking up by Janny Wurtz, as well as reading Cycle of Fire January through March, and potentially starting the Wars of Light and Shadow either towards the end of 2023 or doing a whole read-along of the series in 2024. The next one I've got on my radar is The Priory of the Orange Tree. This is by Samantha Shannon. Now, I've had this book on my shelf before I started BookTube. I bought it a long time ago. The cover just really spoke to me, the orange pop, and it's a sapphic romance. You know, some people say it's their favorite sapphic romance. Slow burn, not, you know, slow burn book, which, you know, they're all buzzwords for me. I do love a slower read because it means that I can immerse myself in the world and the story. So this is on my radar. I would love to get to it in 2023. I've said that for the last couple of years, so Samantha Shannon, could be your year. The next one I've got on here is Swan Song by Robert McCammon. I love getting into stuff 2 years after it stopped being popular. I feel like Robert McCammon was really big on some of the channels that I watch in 2022. I even sent some Robert McCammon to another booktuber when they were talking about maybe starting to read them. And The Stand is one of my favorite books, and Swan Song gets compared to The Stand quite a lot. This book makes me nervous because, you know, The Stand is so high on my favorite books list that if it knocks it out of the park, I don't know what to do with my life anymore. So I've given this one to my dad. He currently has it because he's a big Stephen King fan, and people have compared McCammon to Stephen King. So I know that it's there. It's over at my dad's place, where I'll be staying for about 8 months next year, and we'll see if I get to it. Moving on from there, we have Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. I wanted to read this in 2022. I just didn't get around to it. It's another big book. The review from Sarah reads, now this is a book I've actually looked at a review for to see if it might be up my alley. It sold me. You know, I was already like sort of there when I picked it up because I got it for like $2 at a charity book festival thing. And after watching her review, I was like, okay, this does sound like something that I would really enjoy. Again, a slower burn, but a story that's so complete within itself. Love it, love to hear it, and I'm looking forward to jumping into that. The next couple are parts of series. Book 2 is not out for each of these yet, but I will be starting them and reading book 1. The first is Peace and Turmoil. This is by Elliot Brooks, who I'm sure everyone knows here. On the back it says, "Must the world always be in a state of mourning?" And I am excited to jump into a political fantasy. I really enjoy political fantasy, particularly well thought out political fantasy, and I've heard from a couple of friends that this is very enjoyable, so I am looking at picking this one up in 2023. The next one I'll be looking at is The Iron Crown. This is by L.L. McRae. This is set in stone for Q1 of 2023 on my reading radar. I have adored The World of Lunaria, the continuations. It's on my series continuation list. It's on my anticipated releases of 2023. So I thought I would jump into the one that put her on my radar. This was a finalist in the SPFBO 8, 7 or 8, whatever last year's one was. No, it was a finalist in one of the years, and I've adored her writing. So I found her off that competition, but then I started with her debut and enjoyed that series. So I'm looking forward to reading The Iron Crown. And the last one I have here is Bastion by Phil Tucker. This one has been put on my radar by a good friend of mine, Mark Timoney. I'm sure you've heard me talk about him before. He can be quite picky when it comes to book, particularly modern fantasy, and he absolutely loved this book. He said he read the ebook and he immediately forked out to get the physical copy. So that makes me excited, because normally if he loves a book, it means it's pretty damn good. So I've put this one on my radar for this year as well. That is a lot of books to say that I'm looking at stepping back from, books that are already published, reading in 2023. But we'll see what happens, and we'll review this at the end of the year to see what I actually read versus what I did not. What are you excited to pick up in 2023? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.